Can you hear me louder now? Thank you, Connor. I think this mic is on number 3, so turn that down.
Our opening hymn for today will be number 118 in the gray hymnal, This Little Light of Mine. And just a little background on this hymn. The origins are a little fuzzy as to when exactly the song was created, but the hymnal will say that it comes from the African American spiritual tradition, and in my research online, I found that the song itself originated in the 1920s, and it became it played a role in the civil rights movement. So for that reason, we're going to sing it at a bit slower, more march-like tempo for today. This is, again, number 118 in the gray hymnal, This Little Light of Mine.
At the confluence where the rivers meet, the work of the raindrops and the streams finds a blending, a homecoming of sorts. It is at the confluence where the waters from all the places becomes the waters of this place, mixing and melding to become something new, a peaceful and powerful strength. Here at this confluence, we witness a change, born of individual rivers, made up of snowmelt and rain, remaining somehow the same while also transformed. At this confluence, we gather these waters today. May this courageous coming together transform us. In our blending and mixing, may we find something whole.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ogden. My name's Marilyn Johnson, and I'm glad to be your worship leader today. On this, the third Sunday of the month, we hear from an inspiring person who speaks truth to the times we are living in and offers inspiration for the work of UUs and liberal religion. We're so glad to have our minister, Kristin Famula, with us today. Today is a very special annual tradition that happens in Unitarian Universalist congregations across the United States and across the world, the Gathering of Waters ritual, or water communion. Each year, often in September, Unitarian Universalists will bring together water from a variety of meaningful places and gather the waters in one collective space, symbolically honoring our deep interconnectedness with one another. As we begin our service, we remember Lucille Shuck Longview and Carolyn McDade, who in 1980 designed the first water ritual that became this annual tradition. In response to the inequity and exclusion that is inherent in every generation of Unitarian Universalism, and at that time, the sexism present in UUism, these two women designed a worship service for the national gathering of UUs, specifically created to offer an authentic and liberating ritual of empowerment and connection. In our service today, we will have two opportunities to interact with the water. First, by contributing to it, and then by giving and receiving a blessing from the collected waters. There will be opportunities for online participation and plenty of water for those who didn't bring any. Today also happens to be the International Day of Peace, a holiday designated by the United Nations General Assembly in 1981 to, quote, provide a globally shared date for all humanity to commit to peace above all differences and to contribute to the building of a culture of peace. We're glad to honor both special annual traditions today in one. One way to connect with this community is to let us know you're here. If you're a newcomer, welcome. We're so glad you're here. We encourage you to fill out a newcomer card found on the back of the pews and put it in the offering basket when it comes by later on in the service. And please stay and chat with us after the service. There will be coffee in the room across the hall. If you're joining us online, please fill out the newcomer card online. If you're a UUCO member, we encourage you to wear your name tags. This helps everyone feel more connected and helps our newcomers get to know us more easily. If you haven't already, please put your phones on worship mode. We're so glad each and every one of you is here. Welcome.
We have this little display up here, and I'm remembering us shorties are blocked by it. As Marilyn said, today is the International Day of Peace, an annual celebration that, at least in the United States, is usually forgotten. How many of you knew it was the International Day of Peace today? A couple of you. It's actually written on my calendar. I mean, like printed in the calendar. And as a peace builder myself, I don't know how many of you know that I studied peace and conflict before I went to seminary. And then after coming back from studying, I was a co-founder of the National Peace Academy in the United States. I say that to say, as a peace builder, a professional peace builder, I prickle at the fact that peace seems to largely have been left in the 70s, only to reemerge when we only half-heartedly wish each other peace at the winter holidays. Peace is one of those hopeful, visionary terms like beloved community that have a reputation for being passive and naive. And so I can see why some people might smirk at celebrating a day of peace. Perhaps it seems kind of cute or silly. You might have noticed, though, that the structures and systems and values that we have counted on in this country seem to be crumbling all around us. And in our personal lives, we are still going through all of the struggles of being human. Illnesses and deaths and life transitions, newness. Life is very complicated and challenging right now. And holding on to any kind of hope feels sort of hard sometimes. And yet, resistance requires that we hold firm in our values and believe that a different world is possible. And so today, yes, we are going to celebrate the International Day of Peace. We are going to honor peace. The kind of peace that is decidedly not naive or passive, but is a confluence of hard work and commitment. The peace that comes from practicing vulnerability and truth-telling and conflict transformation. When we assume that more than one thing can be right and true, and we work to meet everyone's needs. The peace that comes when we teach not just our kids, but our adults about emotional intelligence and being an upstander versus a bystander and compassion. The peace that comes when we teach new ways of doing justice and work to restore rather than to punish. And the peace that comes when we don't let someone tell us that empathy is weak or made up, and we practice it anyway. Peace is a confluence, blending streams of imagination and creativity with an intricate mixing of skills and a belief in a possibility of something different. There's a United Nations resource called the Earth Charter, which describes peace as a commitment to relationships, or as they say, right relationships, relationships that are based on dignity and equity and inherent worth. The National Peace Academy expands on the definition of the Earth Charter's definition of peace, and they describe 5 different types of relationships. They describe personal relationships within ourselves, social with other people, political, but by that they mean between groups of people, not necessarily as we think of politics in these days, institutional, between systems and cultures and organizations, and ecological, with the earth. Peace is found in the 5 right relationships within each of those types of relationships. And so today on Water Communion, I want to invite you to think about those 5 different kinds of relationships as rivers, 5 rivers coming together in community, in a confluence. And where each of these rivers come together and we find ourselves in right relationships within each of those different areas, they say that peace is the wholeness found at that confluence. Peace is the wholeness found when all of those rivers, all of the right relationships in each of those different areas come together. It's the magic that's created at that confluence. And so we're going to celebrate our water communion today, which is a ritual inherently honoring community and interconnection. And I invite us into this framework of looking at peace, not as naive, not as passive, but as this coming together, the wholeness created when you have right relationships in the personal, social, political, institutional, and ecological. I think if we are seeking an elusive peace out there somewhere, we might never find it. Especially in these days when it feels like peace is an imaginary idea, lost in the fear and hatred and uncertainty that we see everywhere. And so it is easy to lose hope. But if we are seeking that wholeness that comes from right relationships, it gives us little micro places where we can transform. So imagine with me these 5 rivers, the personal, social, political, institutional, and ecological rivers. It might be that at times, one of those rivers, or most of those rivers, feels like just a trickle, barely a stream. For many of us, that's the personal river right now. You might be feeling completely depleted. But the confluence requires right relationships in each of these areas. And so maybe if your personal river is depleted, that is your work, to get back into alignment. Maybe right now you need to rest or be with friends or meditate or get outside or dance or sing or go to therapy, something. Because when we work intentionally on being in right relationship with ourselves, it is complicated. But when we are in intention with being in right relationship with ourselves, we can be proactive when we notice that we're off track. This takes trust, though. In order to work on ourselves, it takes the trust that other rivers are being filled up by other people. That some of us, whose personal rivers are flowing with abundance, can and will put intention into those other rivers. I noticed on the way here that my social river, the social sphere, my social river had gotten depleted. Given the last few weeks that we've had and the events that unfolded here in Utah and the heightened animosity and polarization that we've seen, I had gotten a bit sucked into the social media and the commentator news world, and I had started feeling apathy and even a little bit of disdain for people that I did not even know. And so on the journey here, I made it a point to fill that river. I talked to strangers. I put my phone down and I connected with my seatmate on the plane. And I had a sweet interaction with someone that was out on the street asking for money. And a driver let me over when I had gotten in the wrong lane. And I felt such a deep connection. It felt great to be reminded of the everyday actions of humans that can be full of kindness still. Those small little reminders that I am just human and the other people out there are all also human, imperfect, and still totally capable of compassion. And that intentionality helped my social river flow. The political and institutional rivers feel like a little bit of a drought these days, or maybe a torrential flood, depending on the day. It could be both. Right relationships, being in dignity and authenticity with the institutions and the politics of the world today, those rivers are where the diverse ways that individuals and groups come together to discuss and collectively make decisions and engage in action to create a world together. They feel a little broken. And so it's hard to get back in right relationship in those ways. But these are the ways that they're less about politics and they're more about how we are going to engage with each other in these days. And so when I think about returning to right relationship in those ways, I think about how we are partnering in the community to care for each other. This congregation is partnering. Regardless of what's happening politically, we are getting out there in the community. And in these days when politicians are making decisions that are counter to our values, how we strengthen right relationships within and between groups of people and communities and organizations is necessary. Right relationships in our institutions and systems requires imagination and creativity. And transforming power happens by leaning into playing and joy and connection. All the things that we lose when we are fighting authoritarianism. So finding right relationships within the systems of power is to resist the false story of disempowerment. And that brings us to our last river, relationships with the earth. This is where the interconnectedness in our water metaphor is perhaps the most obvious. Because we are reminded literally that the clean water we drink is not a given for many people around the globe. And that this limited resource that is connected in our very breathing, that flows through our bodies, that is harmfully overflowing in some places and drying up right here in our backyard, is not in right relationship. And we find our way back by using only what we need and remembering that the earth is not a commodity. It's a constant dance, these 5 rivers. Sometimes we're pulled in one direction and it moves us out of right relationship in another area. But the confluence is when we are in right relationship in all those spheres, the personal, the social, the political, the institutional, and the ecological. The wholeness is found there. Peace is found there. So today, as we create a confluence, a gathering of waters sacred to each of us, I invite you to let the waters represent the possibilities of wholeness. I invite you to consider the places in your life where you are committed to seeking right relationships and the places where you might need some grace. And you'll notice up here that there are 5 containers of water, each one symbolizing the rivers of right relationships that together create this confluence. So as you come forward with your water, you're invited to pour the water that you brought into this bowl. And you may also wish to pour from one of these other vessels, a reminder and an intention towards deeper relationships in areas of your life that might be lacking or neglected right now. And as you pour the water, I invite you to know that everyone in this room is committed to a river that is balanced by someone else's intentions. And together we create the confluence. So I invite you to come forward now with your water, and I invite you to come in stillness and with intention. Come forward. If you don't have water, you're very much invited to use these other receptacles. Before we offer some blessings on this water, I want to add the water from last year. Every year we do a water communion, and every year we mingle the waters of different groups of people. So this water from last year's water communion is full of the blessings of ancestors of this congregation and represents all of us, past and present and future, as we mingle the waters together. I want to invite you to center yourselves in a way that is focused and allows you to put some intention towards this water so that we can bless it together. We know as Unitarian Universalists that blessings don't come necessarily from some higher up person or higher up power, but they come from us being here and committing to each other and offering our intentions. We bless this water by our actions and our presence and our care with one another. We are the ones that make this water sacred and special. And as we collectively bless our water today, remind us that sometimes the courage that we bring to the confluence is just a trickle. We might find ourselves right now at the gathering of waters with the smallest raindrops, burdened by the drought of life's painful moments. Or perhaps you find yourself here with a torrent, a flood of swiftly flowing movement of waters turbulently joining this confluence. And perhaps still others feel the slow, sustained turning and carving and shaping of a flowing stream, empowered by knowing that it is in the consistency that the transformation is made. Thank you, blessed water, for reminding us that we are not the beginning or end of this story, but part of the long river of life. And that it is at this confluence that we find ourselves whole. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to come forward again to give and receive blessings for and from the water. If you remain seated, I will come and bring water to you. You might find that as you come forward, you want to just place your hand in the water. Let it touch your skin or put a drop on your hand and let it sink in. You might find that you want to whisper blessings and prayers into the water for courage or strength or justice or peace. Or maybe, as the original creators did, the original creators of this ritual, you might want to take a little bit of the water back home. Whatever it is that will help your heart and body and spirit and soul and core feel blessed by this water, I invite you to come forward and give and receive blessings. And let's do this in stillness. Let us take the blessings that we need from this and be able to feel it in the room. You may come forward.
We're so grateful to be in a community where we can share our resources to live out our vision in the world. Our offering each Sunday is a testament to the value of this community and our lived values. We'll now receive the offering. Please rise in body or voice, and facing the center aisle, sing together the offering song printed in your order of service and in the chat. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, for this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, for this we live. Thank you for giving. This offering helps this church, helps us in our effort to improve the world in big ways and small. We have a few announcements. Karen, first of all. Sorry.
Okay. Hi. First of all, thank you for all those who have visited my art show at the Eccles Community Arts Center, and some of you have purchased artwork. The show concludes next Saturday, the 27th, and I will host a morning closing reception from 9 to noon. The proceeds from my sales after commission to the Arts Center, of course, go 100% to the ACLU of Utah, and specifically for their work with the immigrant community. So please join me. The Arts Center is open Monday through Saturday from 9 to 5. So if you can't come next Saturday morning, please come any other time before it closes. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Do you have an announcement?
So many of you were at my daughter's funeral, and I'm starting a GoFundMe so Sabine and Paul can come here. Amanda always wanted them to be able to get the best of the US and France. So if you give me your email,
Today, I'll put you on my newsletter and the details will be in there.
Thanks, Suzanne. We're well into our year of experimentation with a new way of doing services, and we're ready for our first all-call meeting to reflect, learn, and adapt. Join us after the service in the Geneva room. The team includes the minister, congregational life manager, I guess that must be Marianne, the music director, and the lay leaders. But everyone's welcome. You're all welcome to come to this meeting. And before the meeting, we'll have the coffee time. As this service comes to an end, we have a song first. Now let us sing. Page 368.
Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the hope within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the joy within.
There must be a verse, right?
As the service comes to an end, join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words in your order of service and in the chat. Okay. But not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the end of that.
Friends, may we go forth, blessed with the wholeness of this confluence, empowered to transform and shift and flow with courage. May it be so. Blessed be.
Bless your way. Light star, light, guide your journey.
Everybody's laughing today. There's something in the water.